What's up guys, Manny from Motomillion. We're here to answer an age-old question. Which one of these two beautiful superbikes would you choose? We have the 2025 BMW S1000RR here and the 2025 Panigale V4 right over here. The question is a very subjective question. I don't expect you guys to agree with me for the question, so I would love to hear your opinions as well. Because we respect your opinion, we expect you to respect our opinion as well. So they're here, they're great, and I think these are matched very well together, especially these two exact bikes that are here. This is the M Sport of the S1000RR, the newly redesigned 2025 model, and this is the base model Panigale V4, the 2025 Panigale V4. They both have very similar mods, so when we take them out for a ride, it's going to be a pretty fair comparison. And I'm saying similar mods, but not similar price mods. We'll get into that in a little bit. So let's start off with the BMW S1000RR. Unlike people's comments, I really dig the looks of this bike. The 2025 looks more aggressive. Sure, you can make fun of the winglets. I'm a fan of it. It looks great on the bike. It resembles the previous generation M1000RR quite a bit. And also the color scheme. I think if you're going to get one, this is one of the fan favorites. There's other colors as well. Pricing, right? So I'm saying these are good matches because this bike, as it sits, it doesn't have the carbon wheels. It's $25,075, I believe, plus your taxes and fees. And this is the base model 2025 Panigale V4. It starts right at $25,995. So just a little more than your M Sport BMW that you have here. Obviously, this again is plus tax and fees. So I think that's why they're a great match. And if that's your budget, you could either choose this one or this one, and I want to know which one you'll choose as well. I'm going to let you know what I chose at the end of this video. So the BMW is an inline 4 1000cc engine, and it makes 205 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torque. Also, the Panigale V4 is an 1103cc engine. Some call it the cheater engine, which is a V4. It's claimed at 209 horsepower and 89 foot-pounds of torque. So the power figures are very similar. I don't really think it matters because this is not a track test. Even though there's Mugello in the background over there, we ride these things on the road. 99% of the buyers ride them on the road. And once you hit 200 horsepower, I don't think it's relevant which one's got more power, and I really don't advise you to try to test the limits of the performance of these things on the road because you just want to be safe and we want to enjoy them for the machines they are and for the experience that they give us. Let's talk about colors. BMW, if you want to get the BMW, you could choose this M Sport color, which is an optional color, and I think it looks really good. I'm not sure if it's the best color because the Bluestone Metallic came out this year. That's very cool too, but this is just timeless, I think, because it is the M color scheme, but it also comes in black. And if you choose another color, you're just going to pay less. The Panigale V4 comes in red, and if you want to get a different color, like the Tricolore, which is white, green, and red, the price goes up to $58,000. If you want it white with a special race livery, it's $85,000. So I would expect most people to just choose red because it's the most approachable color in terms of pricing. And let's talk about the mods of these bikes because it's going to be very relevant when we ride it, because I want to make sure that I don't think any of these bikes have a handicap because they both have the similar mods, and I think the mods that they're here with sitting today is what most riders do anyways to these bikes. So this BMW right here has the windscreen, which it's still a tall windscreen, and this model year now comes with a tall windscreen from the factory. It's the smoke one, so it's giving it great looks, but it also makes this dash a lot more visible under the sunlight conditions that we have here in Miami. It has the Aero Titanium mid-pipe and headers, which gives this the vocals that you want because it's an experience. They're pretty muted with the stock exhaust. And mind you, if you watch our video where we installed this, we weighed everything that we did to this motorcycle. The exhaust saved 18 pounds. That's a huge weight savings, which you could most likely feel when you're riding it. 18 pounds is a lot. The only thing that it is that it's all the way from the bottom over here. So some riders may not really feel the difference, but 18 pounds is a lot. Other than that, it has the radiator and oil cooler guards, has the fender eliminator kit, and it has some dress-up pieces. So again, I really believe those are the first few mods that people do. Obviously, we put our TWM fuel cap on it as well. It makes the fuel fill up a lot easier. Right here, our Panigale V4 has the similar mods. It has a little more carbon fiber on it, but again, I think in terms of experience of riding, that's not relevant. It has the slip-on exhaust, which is kind of equivalent to putting a header and mid-pipe on a BMW, because this gets rid of all the restrictions. The header of these bikes don't have much restriction. There's not much power to be gained by changing the headers, but yes, the slip-on gives it the vocal cords you want. It gets rid of all the restriction on the exhaust system. It has a TWM fuel cap, the radiator and oil cooler guards. Again, I really think these are very modestly modified so that it doesn't really take away, or it doesn't really make him like crazy, so that when you ride it, one bike is handicapped or the other one bike is handicapped versus the other one. They both have great vocal cords for their setup. So that being said, let me gear up so that I can take him out for a ride, so that I can give you guys my ride impressions. And it's going to be back-to-back ride impressions, which is what I love doing. And I'm so happy that we have two of these bikes over here with the similar mods. Let's go out for a ride. All right, guys, first up the BMW. Let's take it out and let's see what it's like outside in the sunshine. This looks beautiful. Cold start. Woohoo. That exhaust changes a lot. Let's let it warm up a little bit. All right. We are off. Right off the bat, the seat is quite high because of this seat that it has on it. You could get the lower seats. It's actually a very popular option. While riding like this, it's not too bad. It's just maybe you're a little too swung around over the handlebar setup, but when you're standing at the lights, I'm almost 6 foot tall, and it's tippy-toe time for me even on this bike. I haven't ridden a BMW since Michael Knight's very own S1000RR, and the first noticeable thing is obviously the noise, which is a very positive thing. But the second thing for me is the buzziness of the handlebar. It is an inline 4, but there's always this buzz that you feel on the BMW that vibrates through the handlebar, and it's just the nature of the beast. BMW quick shifter, the best in business. One thing that I love about this bike is obviously the quick shifter. I think it does it better than any other bike. And on a street setting, you really notice that because the shifts are crisp, up and down shifts. Let's see if we can find neutral. Very common problem with these bikes. There you go. The trick is to rev the bike just ever so slightly before you try to find neutral. The main thing is that the clutch packs on these bikes get stuck together. I don't think they get a lot of oil in them. When you rev it, just the oil pressure goes up enough so that you could find neutral. What a great day to ride though. Partly cloudy skies. It's saying it's 80 Fahrenheit, which I think it's probably more like close to 90, which I'm not complaining. That exhaust is sounding amazing. We're in the road setting. Let's see if we could change around the settings a little bit just to see if it could. In fourth gear, the throttle is pretty direct, but I think it's first, second, and third, which is the issue with these bikes. And don't forget, this bike is on its braking miles. That's why the rev limiter is so low. But again, we all know these things are fast. We don't have to rev it out to redline to see the true potential of these bikes. Look at this crisp downshifts. It really needs the Alpha Racing quick shifter. Then it makes it even better. Right now there is this sponginess that you feel when you are shifting through, and it's I mean, only downside, but the quick shifter, again, the functionality of it is so much better than anything else that you can ride, and it's been like this since day one when the 2020 S1000RR was released, and this is a 2025. It's lost nothing of that amazing quick shifter that it has. Even though the dash is now, let's say, 6 years old, it still looks fairly modern, so it's not looking outdated. And in a setting like this where you're in stop and go traffic, I know you guys like to say Ducatis get hot. These things don't get hot at all. I wonder where the engine temperature is. It doesn't have it. Maybe on the right here. So we're at 194 engine temps, 196, which is pretty much warmed up. Let's put it in race mode. It's not going to change much. The pops and bangs that the exhaust makes maybe is different. We'll see. I guess Ducatis get hot, and these bikes you can't find neutral. Yeah, there you go. The pops and bangs. I want to try it again. I really want to see if in road. Now I'm sure some of you guys know. Yeah, there's no pops and bangs in road. There's pops and bangs in race. Haha. All you BMW riders love those, and I think it's great that they've actually put it into the tune of these bikes. It makes it a little more exciting, right? Because I think these bikes are sterile. They're very German, so it's great that they've engineered this pops and bangs into it in the race mode. At least it's part of the tune, I assume. It gives it a little more excitement because these S1000RRs are known to be a little too sterile. They're amazing machines, but they're very German. And I mean no offense to German people, but they're very straightforward, straight cut. And this is missing a little bit of that flair. So this adds a little more when you're in the race mode. You hear that? I hope it's coming through on camera, but we're gonna take a quick ride on the highway a little bit and then do my usual loop that I do. And I apologize, we're in South Florida. It's flat and straight, so, but we all know dynamically these bikes are very capable. Their capabilities exceed what 99.9% of the riders can do on these motorcycles. So we're gonna try to be, you know, let's say a commute. This is sort of a commute you do. You could still go out on a ride. This is our rides that we do on the weekends, except I'll probably go towards the beach, which is the other side. And when I say the beach, it's the area of Miami Beach. It's a lovely day though, guys. Amazing. Once you're moving, it's not hot. The bike is not getting hot. The seat is pretty high. I'm sitting on it right now. I'm like, man, this feels high. And the tank is wide, not in a bad way, but the tank is big. And these amazing TechSped pads work really good. Tunnel. Another tunnel up there. Let's see if we can get a little more noise, and I hope it comes out on camera. It sounds so good with this exhaust, as good as an inline 4 is going to sound without being a Yamaha, because we all know Yamaha's got that covered in terms of noise department. The brakes actually feel pretty good for the stock brakes of these bikes. You know that there's been a lot of controversy over the brakes of these bikes since it was released. The bike feels pretty nimble, right? What you expect from a model Superbike. So if you have to maneuver around, let's say, an object on the road, you know, you could, it's very responsive to the counter steering movements you will put in. And here we are on the highway, abiding by the speed limits. And it's pretty good. I think we could probably soften the suspension because it's electronic suspension. So right now it's in race mode, and I think it's probably dampened pretty hard. But there is settings to it, so if you want to adjust, you're able to adjust those settings. I mean, the exhaust is definitely a must on these bikes though. Let's go around these cars real quick. Such a familiar tone of sound, right? Because in case you guys didn't know, you guys keep saying I'm a Ducati fanboy, but Motomillion started with BMWs, and I myself personally had a 2016 S1000RR M Sport, and the exhaust sound and everything reminds me of that bike. I don't remember being this buzzy on the steering wheel, and I remember reading on the forums that the steering wheel buzzes quite a bit. But I mean, sure, I'm gonna have to ride the Ducati, but I can tell you that in terms of an all-around sport bike, already I know that this is a more comfortable ride in terms of just how would you say it? It's not really strong, it's not really angry, it's good at masking things, you know. It's a very, very competent and capable super bike. But if you just want to chill and just not worry about anything, this is doing it really fine. And at times I forget that I'm on a super bike. And if you guys have seen, I recently rode the M1000XR and fell in love with it. To me, I think it's the best overall bike that there is ever made, and it has the same engine as this bike, so it's reminding me of that. Especially the seating position too. This is so high. I know I've said it a couple times, but it's really, really reminding me how high the seat is. But there's nothing to fault on this bike, and my biggest criticism has been, as I mentioned, that I mean, if you have nothing else to compare it to, sure, this is of course an experience and an occasion to be out and enjoying a super bike, right? And I've said it many times on my videos, guys. You guys think that you gotta go crazy on a bike and kill yourself. Sure, it makes some exciting content for some people, but you know, you could enjoy these things responsibly like this, and you know, get a lot of enjoyment out of them like this. Is better than being in a car and doing the same route. And with the seat being so high, we could see over these little things on the side that they put so they can't see the planes, but now I could clearly see the airport, the runway, and everything else that there is. So there's a positive to the high seat height. But I mean, if you're under 6 foot tall, you probably want to replace the seat. I think it comes on the M package. There's an other M seat, which was the original M seat. It's much lower than this, or at least from what I remember. And you can be sure that we'll probably swap this seat around on this bike and put that lower seats. Pops and bangs make it really fun. The mirrors actually work pretty okay. I'm still, again, I got it. You see my elbow? I got to do this to see my mirrors. But look at this. I can't see anything. You see how shaky it is? I hope it's coming out on the camera. All these mirrors that they put, I think it's just the vibrations of these bikes that make it impossible. Ooh, I guess underpasses, and there's an officer there. We should be behaving ourselves. I guess those pops and bangs are pretty fun. So this is the ring road around the airport. During rush hour there's a lot of traffic, but at least now it's pretty quiet. It's one lane, so you don't have people coming in and out of the lanes. And our airport in Miami is very close to the city. Without traffic, from downtown to the airport, it's 7 to 10 minutes without going crazy, which is probably weird to some of you guys, because usually within the city planning, they usually try to put the airports outside of the city, but Miami's different. As we call this place paradise. We're fully warmed up, and yes, sure, the seat's tiny a little bit warm. It's nothing even to complain about, but I think in that department it's better than the Ducati, for sure. Oh, there we go. I can find neutral now. Maybe once it warms up, it gets better because the oil gets thinner. Look at this. On both of my tippy toes, I can't flat foot. That's absurd. Really is. I get what they do with the seats. The idea is that your butt's higher, so when you lean, your back's more straight with the windshield, so that you're more aerodynamic. But I mean, if you're roll racing on the street, sure. But for a setting like this, unless you're over 6 foot tall, this seat's got to go. And as you can see, if you just swap the exhaust on this, right, the header and mid pipe, and there's no check engine lights, there's no codes, it runs pretty good, no hesitations. These bikes have a wideband O2 sensor that is set for a target air-fuel ratio, and the bike tries everything to meet that air-fuel ratio from the factory. Age-old question also, not that is the Panigale V4 or the S1000RR is better, but we always get the question, do I need a tune? Need is a big word, right? So you don't need it, but it's strongly recommended that if you change your exhaust in terms of the header and mid pipe, you should at least get the stage 1 flash, and not because you need it, but it just adds so much more to this bike. First gear on this bike is super restricted. My wrists, what I did in relation to what it gave me, is not relevant. When you put a tune on it, you do see and realize how much crisper that throttle response gets. It's a night and day difference. And also, of course, they do adjust everything that the bike needs to get adjusted for running that free-flowing header and mid pipe that you have on it. So you need it? No, you could ride it like this. It's not going to hurt the bike. I mean, we sell flashes. I'd love to tell you that yes, you need it, you should do it, but we're not like that. We're as honest as possible. You don't need it, but you should get it. A little bit of off-road action here, even in this setting. So when the light's flashing red, you're supposed to treat it like a stop sign, and that Mazda 3 did not know. I mean, I would still really enjoy riding a BMW if I was only exposed to BMWs. This is an amazing machine, super fun. If you want to have cruise control and all that stuff, yes, it does have it too. I just really don't see the point of cruise control on a Superbike. I know if you're riding for a couple hours, you could set it on cruise on the highway, but even if I was doing a long ride, it just wears me out. Makes me feel like I'm not in control, and maybe too much relaxation at that point, so that you kind of doze off from what's going on, because you really want to be aware of what's happening around you when you're riding these bikes. But surprising, the brakes, that's what surprised me the most about this bike. I don't remember our M1000RR even being so sharp on the brakes. This obviously has that impact, so we have the Gillies tooling rear sets, and we have the M levers on it. The levers look pretty nice, right? Because they are, I think they're made by Gillies tooling for them as well. They feel premium, but just too sharp around here. I actually prefer the TWM levers. But you know, they look good, and even if you buy one, you could sell these for quite a bit of money and get yourself other levers that you prefer to have. That's again very subjective. I just think that the ergonomics of the TWM levers are much better, and something that I'm used to. Even on our Brembo RCS master cylinders that we replace, we always put the BMW blades on it because I'm so familiar and so used to that smooth curve that they have. The rear sets are really grippy, because if I want to be honest, the last bike that I rode was the new Panigale V2S, And the stock foot pegs of that bike is unacceptable in terms of grip. Maybe I'm just so used to riding these super sport bikes or the hyper sport bikes, whatever you want to call them. We like to call them super bikes, and nowadays all of them have very grippy pegs, and this bike has the Gillies tooling rear sets that has pretty grippy pegs for, I mean, it's not as grippy as the Litex, but it doesn't leave me wanting grip. I could use more if there was more twisty roads, but that V2S was unacceptable. And the other thing about this bike that I'm used to now, but that's very surprising, when I mention it to people, they get very, very surprised. Everybody thinks in low RPM, this bike will get eaten alive by a V4 like the Aprilia or the Ducati's V4s. But thanks to the shift cam engine of these bikes, this has a lot more torque. So you could just be at a higher gear and just cruise at a lower RPM, and then when you crack the throttle, it just gets going. So it will surprise you, I think, if you're not used to it, because inline 4s are not known for the low end torque. And we all know, if you've been riding for long enough, you know, we used to do the 1 down 2 up sprocket setup on the old 1000s, if you're old enough to remember that thing. But nowadays you don't even need to touch your sprockets unless you want to shed some weight and put 520 conversion kits on them. The exhaust tone is, I think, with this M Sport muffler and the Aero header and mid pipe, this sounds very nice, very deep actually. Still, I prefer the Aero GP exhaust that we have. It's called the Evo GP Competition. These bikes sound so good with them, super deep, unlike any inline 4. But this setup that it has on it is very tasteful too. If you want to be a little more under the radar, this is probably the one to get. It's you see, at this speed we're going 40 miles an hour. It's not obnoxiously loud. Sure, I mean, we could put an SC Project exhaust on it if you want more noise. But is it a gentleman's superbike? Maybe that's what I'm going to call it. It's a gentleman's superbike. Fantastic bike. So let me ride back to the studio. I'm going to directly jump on our Panigale V4, the 2025 Panigale V4, and I'm curious to see what the differences are going to be that jumps out at me right away. So let's get back, let's swap the bikes, and we'll get things rolling again. Alright guys, here it is. It's red, it's Italian, it's a Ducati, and it's a Panigale V4. Let's get on this thing. Let's start it up and let's see what it's like. Immediately I can tell you that the clutch is a lot more grabby than the S1000RR, and I apologize for my antics of going on the sidewalk, but I just had the bike in a place that I only can come this way. Let's wait till the traffic dies down because I gotta turn left. It is the Motomillion Panigale V4 after all. It's got only one mirror, and this mirror here, you can see how useless it is. Look how much it's shaking. I guess it is, after all, an afterthought for mirrors for any superbike, right? Because look at this. And this does this when you ride. And I'm giving you a disclaimer, there's a check engine light on this bike. It's of my own doing. I unplugged the servo eliminator on this bike, and I ran the bike. You got a check engine light. Now I think it needs 3 ignition cycles for that to go away, and that's why the bike was actually in a different setting and to start with, because I was just trying to see if I could do the ignition cycles, but it probably needs a few more miles for me to be able to do that. So the differences that I feel right off the bat are obviously the seat height is a lot nicer and a lot less aggressive. The seats is a little bit more comfortable, but still it's not the most comfortable seat I've sat on. I'll be very open and honest about that. I think what BMW does better is, obviously, sure, the quick shifter is better, we all know that. This is a much better quick shifter than the previous generations of this bike. But the handlebar setup, I prefer the BMW's OEM setup. It's a lot wider, and it's this one, the bars are turned in. I'd rather want to have them out. It makes it a lot easier to counter steer. So this feels very old school. This almost feels like the 2009 CBR 1000 that I used to ride. That's how far back it goes. I remember my arms were in, and I think this is a very racy thing, right? Because it is meant for being able to tuck in your elbows in the straight for aerodynamics, but we'll definitely change the handlebars. So other things, obviously the noise, right? This is a much louder motorcycle. And no braking restrictions, which is cool. So we could go rev past a certain point, even though we didn't even get all the way up there. But it sounds so good. It sounds really good. I prefer the V4 sound to the inline 4. And we get a tunnel here. Wow. You come and tell me that this doesn't sound better. I know that there's inline 4 fans everywhere, but this is definitely a better sounding soundtrack. Low speed, right? So this bike doesn't like to rev low, even though it's better than the previous 2024 model, right? This bucks and doesn't buck like the old one. Let me not say it bucks. It's just a little shaky in low RPM, whereas that BMW's power delivery is butter smooth. Doesn't matter what RPM you're in. So when you ride them back to back like this, these things really jump out at you. And seriously, in terms of ergonomics for comfort, BMW hands down. The dash, I like this dash a little more. It looks a little more modern to me. The fonts and everything are smaller, yes, but it's less gimmicky, if you want to ask me. Not that the BMW has gimmicks, but just this layout, I like it. It's, you know, slim. It doesn't overpower my view of the front end. And yes, this bike does get hot. It's already warm. Just the sound of it, man. Sounds so good. It reminds me of, obviously, the GP bikes have V4 engines, well, most of them, except the Yamaha, which is soon to change. But at speed, when you have enough load on the engine, the quick shifter works good, but in and around town for slow speed riding, the BMW's quick shifter is smoother operating, better operating, but in terms of the feel, this doesn't have the slack that the BMW has, the springiness, which you have to fix with a aftermarket quick shifter, and Alpha Racing does it the best. We'll let this guy who wants to tailgate me in traffic by. You see, this is what you should do. If you have people that are tailgating you, instead of getting angry at them, just move over, let them go. There's so much traffic where there's no point of speeding up, because you're going to slow down all in the front, and we're already going 50 miles an hour, which is the speed limit of this place, but we'll get out of the right lane maybe, because we need a little more air flow in this thing. So I'm used to the Ducatis. I don't mind the heat, but this is, the heat is turned up compared to the BMW. And you see, like, at these speeds, you see how much everything is shaking in terms of the dash, the mirrors and everything, and this fairing right here. It's because the bike is actually shaking that much, not that these things are loose. So you always have to rev it a little higher than normal. And I want to remind you guys, so this bike is loud, but this is by far not the loudest exhaust you could put on these bikes. And if you're going to be loud and obnoxious, I'm sure SC Project is probably working on something like the short stuff they had for the previous model year. Let's just try to cut through the traffic. I told you guys they're going to get stuck in traffic over here. I guess we're going to take a different route. I don't feel like going through the traffic, and as much as I'm okay with splitting the lanes, you should check your local laws. Let's just get out of the highway and go into other roads. Ay, ay, ay. You see what these things do to you? I want you to misbehave a little bit. Wow, that's noise though. It's maybe because the exhaust is right under you rather than being behind there like the BMW, but I could see that someone might get tired of the sound of this bike because it is pretty loud, especially when you have these barriers on the side and the sound is just reflecting off of those. The rear sets are not any trick rear sets, but they are much better than many stock rear sets that you get. Obviously visually those Gillies tooling rear sets on the BMW is much nicer, and we are going to receive our Gillies tooling's rear sets for this bike as well, but you know, we're doing a fair comparison between them with the way that this bike is and that BMW was, and but these rear sets are very grippy for stock rear sets, grippier than those Gillies tooling ones that are on the BMW S1000RR M Sport with the M package. And it's mainly because, also don't forget, MotoGP riders cannot ride their MotoGP bikes for testing purposes that often, so they jump on these bikes, and they say that obviously they're nothing alike, but it's kind of very good practice that they could do on these bikes, because again the rules limit them riding their MotoGP bikes for testing, so they'll jump on these things. And of course they could put aftermarket stuff, but if you take a look, most of their bikes are as stock as it gets, probably some race fairings and the full race exhaust on it, and the rear sets are stock, and I could see how they could use the stock rear sets. The grips are much nicer on this bike, even though this doesn't have the Pro Grip 717s that some of the other models come with. I think the S actually comes with them, but no heated grips, so we could easily upgrade the grips on this bike if we want to. So in terms of improving it from stock, this is possible with the grips, but handlebar position is very, very close. And yes, I do have the rear ABS off. I like to just mess around sometimes, just like I did over there, like a little kid who just learned that the rear brake will make you skid, and this is rather skidding pretty easily. All right, there's so much traffic everywhere. Where should we go? I don't even know. We should just jump back on the highway, just the other way around, and just head back, because I'd love to give you guys a very good idea of what this bike is like, but it's loud, it's fast, it's fun, it's hot, very hot. And ergonomically it's not as comfortable as the BMW, not at all. And it doesn't take much to ride. I mean, I rode it for 9 miles so far, guys, and I could easily tell that I'm already kind of beat up with the way that this is. But I often say things don't have to be perfect or good to be good, and that's a hard thing to describe, because sometimes the faults gives it character. And by no means I'm saying having uncomfortable handlebars are character, but I guess the sound that this makes and the heat gives it that character. So if you want to ride a Ducati, you got to kind of be okay with the heat. And I mean, I wear Kevlar jeans. That really helps. I've mentioned this many times on my videos. But you see, I'm already not wanting to ride because I hit traffic. On the BMW, I don't know if I would have had the same quick thinking of, hey, let me get out of the traffic and let me try to get flowing on somewhere because it'll be a little cooler for me. The noise though, you see? Whenever I feel like it's hot, I just got to do this and my resting face becomes a smiley face. That sounds good, guys. Really good. Let's do a little pull. This, I told you, this bike is making me do naughty stuff that I usually don't want to do on the BMW. I'm a much more well-behaved rider and a motorist on the BMW. Let's try it. That sound is just intoxicating. I love it. I really want to hear your thoughts though, guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys have either both bikes or have been exposed to both bikes or have ridden both bikes. And even if you haven't, just from an outsider, I want to see what you guys are thinking, because we just put up a poll on our Instagram stories asking which one would you pick, this bike or the 2025 S1000RR. It was very close and a lot of you guys voted, which is great. It was over 2,000 or 3,000 people that voted, and the BMW got 53% of the votes and this bike got 47. I would love to hear the reasoning behind it. Why did you guys vote on that bike? But unfortunately, this is not as long of a ride as I did on the BMW, but it's enough for me to see the differences and make up my mind on which one I would choose. You see that quick shifter? That's the Ducati quick shifter demonstration right there. That it didn't want to shift. You got to be very firm with the pedal. Wow. I mean, the BMW can do this too, but just the noise this thing makes. I'm gonna behave, guys. I'm gonna behave. This is maybe one more pull. Let's see if there's traffic up ahead. We don't want to cause any issues, but well, we got to get off the highway, so let's the front end is starting to come up. Okay, I'm going to behave. I already said that I'm going to behave, but and this is our exit here. We don't want to go all the way to Miami Beach if we go straight. The ocean's right there, right down this hill. But wow, guys, adrenaline rushing through my body right now because of this bike. And I always tell you guys, please be safe when you ride. These things are very capable and very fast, and I don't think public roads are where you want to do things, because it's not just even endangering your life, right? This thing is a projectile. If you hit another car, don't think that you're not going to hurt someone in a car with a motorcycle. So be respectful of other motorists. I just want to bring that up. That's one of the things that I've learned over the years. You know, it's unfortunately, there are many friends of mine who are not here today with us, and I don't want to be sad and somber, but just reminding everyone to please be safe on these beautiful machines that we enjoy. It also takes away that stereotype that people have about these super bikes, so that other motorists don't just hate you and they show you a little more respect. I see day to day over here, when there's traffic, they do move over for you to make room so you could get through, which I think is applaudable for motorists to do when they see a bike. And I think also, don't forget the exhaust, that when they hear the bike, they see you. And that's one thing that I truly believe, that these loud exhausts do really work in terms of making other motorists very aware of you, especially with things like this that drives themselves now, so you could be as distracted as you want. I'm going to head back to the studio and give you my final thoughts about these two wonderful machines. And if you're watching this as a review, a street review, because I think really this is what 99.9% of the owners of these bikes do. If you live in an area that has much nicer roads than South Florida, because we live in a grid here, it's straight everywhere, just sharp turns, there's no canyon roads, you're going to have a lot more fun than these. And we all know these bikes are much more capable than we are, so you're going to have fun on both if you have nicer roads. But I'll tell you guys what this does better than the other, or what the other one does better than this one, so that you could really make an informed purchasing decision, but also, you know, give you my opinion. I'm sure you guys want to hear which one I would choose. So let's head back to the studio and let's talk about these two bikes side by side. All right, we're back, guys. Both bikes are in here, nice and shiny. And it's often surreal to be able to ride these bikes and ride two of them back to back like this. I gotta pinch myself at times, even though the traffic wasn't playing fair game with us when we were riding the Panigale V4. I don't get it, guys. Miami, 2 p.m., everyone's off of work, traffic, whatever. Let's get to the bikes. I'm still smiling from the ride because they're both really, really good bikes. And I mentioned it to you that I'm going to kind of give you guys some sort of a review in case you're trying to buy one or the other and trying to decide, because price-wise, they're pretty close, especially in these both trims that we have here. So the BMW, what does the BMW do well? Ergonomics-wise, for me, the handlebar setup is very comfortable. And in terms of riding, this bike does not get hot like the Ducatis do. So if you get stuck in traffic, you could bear it. And it's also, I guess you could, if you're commuting on this bike, it's livable with every day for a commuter. And in the beginning of the ride, I said it, right? I said it's red, it's Italian, it's a Ducati. And characteristics-wise, it is a Ducati. So this thing feels like nothing else out there. There hasn't been a single motorcycle I've ridden in the past 15 or 25 years. I forgot how long it's been that I've been riding. That feels like a modern Ducati. The old stuff is cool, but they used to break down all the time. This new stuff is so reliable, so nice. It still has its quirks, but seat is much more comfortable, even though it's not the comfiest seat you could get. In terms of riding position, the height of the seat is suiting me much better. I'm 6 foot tall almost, guys, and I could flat foot on this bike. On the BMW, I can't. So let's get to some of the faults, right? It's not really a fault, but I don't like the handlebar position of this bike. It's too racy, it's too inwards, and it's all made for aerodynamics, because when you tuck, they want your hands to be inside so that less is in the air, so that you are slipping through the air much better. The handlebar of this was better, but the seating position of this, the seat's way too hard, way too tall, and we know why they have this, right? Again, with Superbikes, it's a compromise. Handlebar position, compromise on that bike. Seating position is compromised on this bike. Why does it have such a high seat? Well, when you're leaned and tucked in, if your butt is higher up in the air, your back is more straight to this level over here. So the aerodynamics goes over it. So in the case of ergonomics, both of these bikes have some sort of a setback in terms of ergonomics because of aero benefits that they're trying to achieve. But again, you could fix these things. You could get a lower seat for this bike. BMW has it. We actually also offer it on our website. I think it's nicer because the M logo is colored on that bike. It has stitching. In the case of the Ducati, you know it. We always change the handlebar setup, and we could be definitely sure that we could change it. So which one do I choose? You guys are probably wondering, which I'll get to, but which one should you choose? I'm gonna tell you. So it depends on your situation. Are you buying this bike to commute, to use it every day, to be comfortable on, or are you buying it as an ultimate experience, right? Because let's draw an analogy to the cars. You could get a very nice sports car that's livable every day, or you could buy another sports car that gives you this crazy thrill, but you really don't want to commute with it every day. So this is the exact same comparison. The BMW, if you don't want the ultimate thrill, and you want a superbike that's very capable, does everything really well, get the BMW. And in that case, you know, you could, if it's your only bike and you do everything with your motorcycle, this thing is going to do it the best. If you want the ultimate experience that you could get out of on two wheels, this bike is it. Yes, it has compromises. Yes, the quick shifter is by far not even close to as good as the BMWs. It does get hot, but if you want that thrill, if you want that excitement, this one is it. And in my case, I choose the Panigale V4 over the S1000RR because, number one, I'm lucky enough to have multiple motorcycles at my service, let's say, so that if I want a chill ride, I could probably take a hyper naked bike out, or if I want an ultimate thrill, this is the bike that I choose. And I always say it, and I've always said it. If I'm going just a couple blocks down to grab a coffee, there is nothing that matches just the character, just the thrill, whatever this thing gives you in terms of the feedback. Nothing's like it. Sounds crazy, yes. For the sound, you got to pay a little more than the sound of that bike, but I prefer the sound of this motorcycle as well. Again, I'm not knocking the BMW. That really has a special place in my heart as well. I love those bikes. Motomillion started off with BMWs, and then we kind of got over to the Ducati side once they got under Audi ownership and fixed all the reliability stuff. And now, this might infuriate some people, these bikes are more reliable than their German counterparts. If you don't believe me, go take a look at the records. NHTSA, which is the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, has all the recalls listed. That bike has a ton of recalls. And again, I'm not knocking that bike. In an ideal world, I would have both, but if I could only choose one, it's the Panigale V4. I want to hear what you think, because that Instagram poll that we put up was very, very close, but you guys chose the BMW. Put it in the comments down below. But this is it, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, have a good one.